Well, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the League of Biblical Enthusiasts. Our last episode featured the find of the Oxyrhynchus papyri by Grenfell and Hunt. And in the week following, I visited New York City for 8 days, made an appointment with the Jewish Theological Seminary and their reading room to view some manuscripts found by Solomon Schechter in the Geniza and Elan Adler, of whom we'll speak more about. The second day, that would be Tuesday, I visited the Metropolitan Museum and, of course, headed straight left when you go in the front door toward the Greco-Roman area. Amazing finds there, and I documented some of the things that I was able to see. The third day would be Wednesday, and I had an appointment with the Morgan Library and Museum, where I was admitted to their reading room to see some ancient manuscripts as well, one of which was an ancient Syriac manuscript from the 6th century. So I want to show you a little bit. I made a little film about my trip to the seminary and to the Morgan and, of course, to the Met, just kind of documenting along the way the trip, the things that I was able to see, and wanted to share with you that trip. So stay tuned, and here we go. Oh, before we see part of my trip, I do want to mention about a reading room. What is a reading room of a library or a museum? Well, basically, you have general access to the stacks in many libraries, most libraries. And then you may have a reading room where rare materials are kept. And of course, the things I'm interested in, the ancient Hebrew and Greek, Syriac, and other languages that represent early text of the Old Testament, of the Hebrew Bible, and the New Testament. To be admitted to the reading room, you must show that you basically are serious as a scholar in research. Now, I basically had to rely upon my Master's of Theology from Harding Graduate School of Religion. And I really believe that this channel, the League of Biblical Enthusiasts, the kind of things we've been able to bring to you also helped me gain admittance to those reading rooms. Now, it's no credit to me, but I do attribute to you as those who have subscribed and are regular listeners and have shared with your friends this channel. It really helped a lot to be able to show those who were in charge of the reading rooms that, I was someone who was seriously interested in these manuscripts and not just some casual observer off the street wanting to gain admittance to their rare book reading room. Anyway, I was asked by one of the representatives to show basically my credentials, so to speak. And I mentioned that I had a YouTube channel called the League of Biblical Enthusiasts, in which we talk about all things biblical, the text of the Bible, the history of the Bible, manuscript evidence, manuscript hunters, which is our current series, translations, archaeology, and on and on. And they asked to see a link for that channel. I provided that link, and my next email basically said, what do you want to see? So thanks to you, I really believe that helped a lot to be able to allow me to gain admittance to those reading rooms and to see the things I did. Enough of that, and let's move on to my trip. Way to the Jewish Theological Seminary of New York City to see some Geniza fragments from the Adler collection, and perhaps one that Schechter brought back himself. Okay, approaching 145th Street station. We just need to take a couple of stops. 125th, hop out, walk a few blocks south, and there will be the seminary.
1, train to South Ferry. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge. This downtown 1 train will not stop at this station. Please stand
As seen on the way to the seminary, as you might expect, Jewish Theological Seminary. So sad. Not quite sure if these signs have been defaced, but kind of looks like it. And the street appropriately named Seminary Way. And I have arrived. Jewish Theological Seminary. You can see the facade. I do want to get a close-up of the burning bush that we mentioned in our episode about Solomon Schechter and the Sisters of Sinai. Both have ties to institutions that featured that same famous scene in the Torah, Moses and the burning bush. And representing for these two schools, Westminster College of Sisters of Sinai and Jewish Theological Seminary of Solomon Schechter, the burning light, God's Word, which will not be extinguished. So once I entered the reading room of the Jewish Theological Seminary, I was met by and had much help from the librarians there, who gave me the utmost courtesy, were able to find everything that I was looking for, answered questions, were extremely knowledgeable, and to them I'm very grateful. The first thing I wanted to see was the small collection of Schechter Geniza fragments. And most of these were basically running rabbinic commentary on the Torah. So I have a selection of 5 images that I will show here. Next, I was interested in the Elan Adler collection of Geniza fragments. And Adler gets short shrift when it comes to talk about the Geniza collection. In fact, he was in the Geniza some 10 years before Schechter. He first visited in 1888 and came away with nothing. He went back in 1896 after the Cairo Geniza was reorganized, restored somewhat, and then he took away with him, after a 3 or 4 hour visit in the Geniza, a great collection of fragments. In fact, Adler owns the largest personal collection of fragments. Now, Elan Adler was the son of the chief rabbi of the British Empire. And we talked about him in respect to Schechter because he was a great help to Schechter as well. There are many fragments of the Elan Adler collection at the Jewish Theological Seminary. You can see them online with the Friedberg Geniza Project, and I have a link to that site as well, where you can view all the fragments without the overhead lights that tend to show up when you're taking pictures. And I was allowed to take a number of photographs from the Adler collection as well. Here you will see a number that I've chosen just to select at random. Now, on Tuesday, I visited the Metropolitan Museum on Fifth Avenue. If you've never been, the next time you visit New York City, go. Go and go quickly. It's an amazing place to see thousands of ancient objects from ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, from around the world, the Greco-Roman world that's most interesting to me, through the medieval period, even into modern times. I'm just going to show a few random photographs, primarily from the Greco-Roman section. Now, on Wednesday, probably the highlight of my trip, I was able to visit the reading room of the Morgan Library and Museum on Madison Avenue. Here, I went to the reading room and was shown a couple of manuscripts, one of which is known as MSG67 because the G stands for the Glazier Collection. This is called the Glazier Manuscript, and it is a 5th century manuscript. It comprises just over half of Acts of the Apostles. If you see this manuscript, you will not be allowed to touch it. Those who assist you will bring it out in a box, open the box, you're able to view it, see the contents of its binding and binding leather, but you cannot touch the manuscript. Now, I've included some pictures of the Glazier manuscript of Acts, taken directly from the Morgan Library website. So I don't need any copyrights for viewing these. Here you will see several images displaying this manuscript. And at the end, there will be a reproduction of the manuscript that was made by someone who's a member of the staff of the reading room, who was very helpful to me, bringing out that reproduction, allowing me to handle that, to see how this manuscript was made and bound. So enjoy these photos. And finally, I was able to view and handle a 6th century Syriac Peshitta manuscript of the Gospels. Their catalog, it is Manuscript M783. Unfortunately, there are no pictures of this manuscript on the Morgan Library website. There are of many other manuscripts, but not this one, and I'm not quite sure why. However, I was able to take a number of photographs of the manuscript. I handled the pages and felt the hardened parchment in my hand. It was an amazing experience. However, I have not cleared my pictures through the reading room officials, and so I'm not able to show them to you. It's kind of frustrating for me, and I'm sure for you as well. And I'm sorry about that. This particular manuscript was found by none other than J. Rendell Harris. And of course, we had an episode on him, one of our manuscript hunters, a few episodes back. Harris discovered this manuscript in a cupboard of the Jacobite Syrian Church of Harput in Armenia. And you recall he brought to light the tragedies occurring in Armenia during his lifetime. So again, I'm sorry I'm not able to show pictures of the manuscript. I've tried to find them online even and have been unsuccessful. If you find any, I would love to know your source. Let me simply wrap up by saying it was a wonderful trip to New York. I enjoyed it. I lived there for almost 25 years and miss it greatly. So anyway, we'll pick up next week with more of our series on manuscript hunters. I hope you enjoyed this little collection of photos and a reminiscence of my trip last week to New York. Be well, and I hope you enjoy the next video. Merry Christmas to everyone.